Hello and welcome to the return of the RoH podcast. It's been about 2 years since this was on, but we're back. If you remember from the old podcast, I'm Caden Cottenius, and joining me this week are my cohorts, comrades, and colleagues, the mama bear of RoH, Mana.
Hey.
The somewhat Canadian Nay.
Hello.
And the serial fluffer, as stated by her new member title, Aspen.
Hi!
I'm hoping everyone is doing well today.
Peachy.
Above ground, so that's a start.
Alright. Our first topic of discussion on this podcast is a pretty big piece of news. One of the 3 guilds, the Caravan, is disbanding. If any of y'all know anything about it, it was started by Alana?
Yes.
Yeah, Alana.
That's what I thought.
Was. She retired
Was.
now, right?
Yes.
Well, I don't
Yes.
think she's been retired yet, but is going to be retired, any moment.
Soon to be retired Alana. Bringing back a new character, but we'll get into that a little later. But the guild is disbanding. And Nay, I believe you might have a little information, perhaps, as to why.
Yeah, I've kind of been following it, and I know that the caravan's been kind of slow lately. It was always a little bit slow, a bit of a slow grind for the caravan to get through threads and quests and everything. So recently, there's been a sudden drop in members. I think who left first? I think. Well,
Wasn't it kind of like?
that-
Wasn't it Nero that left first? Really? That made everything start falling apart.
Yes, Nero left, and then someone else followed suit. Left, right. Nakul made a new character, and then those 2 characters left, and then I think the caravan just kind of lost interest at that point.
It crumbled.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And that brings us to the whole topic of guilds and how they work, because I know that there have been past guilds in a row, and they haven't all been very successful.
From what I saw when I was still under that new member area, there was a lot of past guilds that did not come to fruition.
There's quite a few. But it all comes down to different things, right? Sometimes the guild leaders aren't active, or it just gets dry.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I've started a guild. I started the Knights of Hyrule, which, if anyone who's been on previous Realms of Hyrule know, that is a kind of a consistent thing with me. I bring out the Knights of Hyrule every couple of years because I think, hey, we can do this again. Not this time around. It didn't even get started in roleplay this time around. And I know I've been part of at least 3 or 4 guilds at this point. I know I was part of the Circle of 8, which fell apart, and I was the last surviving member. The Apostles, which crashed and burned. It is kind of a weird topic because on older ROHs, guilds lasted a lot longer. Nowadays, not so much. And as y'all said, maybe it's, people get busy. Perhaps there's more to do. People have more ideas. They don't really want to stick together.
Well, I can honestly say, for me, for guilds, I'm in one. For one reason, because at least it has a continued story plot. Other guilds, I will not join anywhere, because they're just so boring, honestly. That's just me, though.
Some guilds are like that. It happens. They kind of pop in. You think, they kind of start off strong. I mean, the cause a little bit started off really strong, partly because of in-character reasons. There was a vacuum in the palace. Needed something. The cause popped up. Got strong. Still around. Not quite as strong now.
No, they're still going well. Just recently, it's been a bit of a 2-week wait, but besides that, all the characters in the cause are fairly active.
It's still ongoing, but the problem is, it's not as quick as it was when it first started, which happens.
Yeah.
But back to the caravan, anything else? I mean, how long has it been around? Just, 6-7 months?
It's been around for a little while. I know it came into play, I think, before the Vanguard officially formed from the Princess Protection Party.
Mm-hmm.
But it came after the cause, maybe a month or so later. Yeah, I think recently they were doing something in warehouses that had to do with trying to find a bomb threat, which was going to turn out to be fireworks, but because people started dropping out because that RP was going really slowly, they kind of killed the caravan.
That happens. And what do you think is going to happen to the remaining members? I think as we said, Alana's retiring, going to make a new character. Any of the other characters going to stick around?
Well, I think the only one that I can think of is Uraz, because he was part of the caravan, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was with both Vasvasa and Eraz. Then I think there's Fide in there, and Alia, and I can't think of who else is in Caravan right now.
Yeah, I think that's only those three.
Hopefully they either stick, if they can stick around, they can. If not, hope the people behind them stay and make new characters, or keep to the characters they already got, because let's be honest, we all got at least 3 different characters here.
At least.
Yeah.
That's true. We all have 3 or 4 characters.
Yeah, even me, I'm one of those people that had 1 character for years, and now I got 3. I don't know how the hell that happened, but...
Impulse.
I guess. All right.
Oh, impulse.
Very impulsive.
I love that impulse.
We touched upon the cause a little bit. What else is going on with the cause?
There's a bit of a party being planned. We wanted to do something in the festival square of Castle City, because that's a rarely used area, and it was going to be kind of a side event. Not sure exactly when that's going to happen, but it's still in the planning stages.
Is it going to be an actual event like the festival was an event, like games?
Yeah, it's going to be similar to, I think, the Snowhead Festival, but maybe smaller in scale, not as many rupee giving stuff, just NRP stuff.
Boring. Just kidding.
Well, at least we're getting a festival going. I mean, it's been a little while since we've had a festival, as they said.
It'll be fun.
The Snowhead, I think, was the last one.
I had fun with that. That was fun.
Frankly, I can't wait. I always like festivals.
When I kind of pitched the party, I think it was brought up, but then I pitched that it should be a sort of propaganda or public relations initiative, because Zane Biniter is kind of the usurper king of Hyrule, and he has a skeleton army and spooky, scary lizards and goblins and all that. So I think there needs to be some propaganda work, serious propaganda work, to make him a little less spooky in the eyes of the people.
Well, there's only so many colors you can paint a bacon-faced person to not be scary. I don't know if we got enough of a palette.
Put him in.
I believe it was Kiroku who said that Zane looks like Red Skull.
I'm just going to keep imagining him as a talking strip of bacon.
Me too, pretty much.
I think we all are at this point. I know things are kind of going on with the cause, but nothing.
I don't
too
think
major.
there's... Oh, wait, Zane is meeting with Nock, because Darius and Nock are back, and there's something going on there with between the Gorons and the cause. There's some kind of tension going on there.
Doesn't not Nock, Kiradus and Zane hate each other? Don't they have history?
I'm not aware of history, but I know that Kirdaris has shut down Goron City.
Yeah.
Because Zane took over.
Yeah, that is something the cause needs to do, is look more into the other races, try to establish more alliances. But for now, let's move the discussion over to the Vanguard, which, unlike the cause, kind of separated.
I kind of like that formula, though, because the cause, everyone in the guild is kind of in the same area at the same time, and that's kind of slows things down.
That's true.
But with the Vanguard, people are going out on their own sort of personal missions sometimes, sort of cause-related, Vanguard-related missions other times. They're not all in the same place jumbled together, and as a whole, it doesn't slow down as much. I know it's not super quick either, but it's not glacial-paced.
At least with the Vanguard, you have that option. You don't have to stay with each other and go off the same plot line, where it kind of gets stale and you run out of ideas. This way, all of our characters are all separated, but they're still doing things to advance And that Vanguard.
Yeah, and it works because we're all kind of, as y'all said, we're doing our own thing. I know personally, Caden and Shin are both kind of got something Vanguard related going on. We're currently in the sewers. Shin, if you're listening to this, I really do need to post. I'm sorry about that. Hopefully by the time this gets up, there will be a post there. No promises. We kind of got something going on there. I probably won't discuss too much about it here, but there's something
Spoilers!
Oh yeah, something rather interesting going on. What about Zemo? She's kind of got a personal thing going on as well, right?
Personal-ish. To explain my sort of absence over the last couple months, after being with Merrick and Gemini on the Tokay Island, I had her be captured by Gerudo pirates and then kind of traded to Finblades. Those are the assassins that her father commands, she was trying to going to be traded back to them, and she ended up in Azora's domain and then escaped and ran into Thera and is now part of the Zora Rebellion there. Her kind of reason for being there is, maybe I'll surprise Jack, like, look, I got favors from the Zora Queen, so do I do good?
Can I have cookie?
Can I have cookie? That's basically it.
Yeah, we've got plans going. I like that. That's a pretty cool storyline you got there. Speaking of Jim, she's kind of got her own thing going as well, where she's picking up the recently, what's the word I'm thinking of?
Exercised?
Exercise works.
Very good word. The recently exercised sister Skylar. That is a very interesting RP going. Have y'all been reading it? Or
No, honestly, I haven't.
I've been sort of half reading it.
I've been reading it a little bit. I was kind of in that area for a little bit. Skylar's, obviously, it's kind of like a post-traumatic exorcism disorder going on there. Very, very good stuff. Anything else, Vanguard-wise?
Jack just recruited 2 new characters, Aeolus and Crystarius, I believe their names are. One of them's Ashika.
Crystarius is Wandering Shadow.
Wandering Shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those 2 characters have been recruited to the Vanguard, and last I heard they are heading to the Underwood.
Well, yeah, because Jack's doing his own thing right now.
Yeah, he's going to a great ferry to do something about his magical tattoos, I think.
Speaking of the Underwood, Zelda is currently there.
Baby Zelda?
Toddler Zelda.
Well, toddler Zelda.
Whatever.
How old is she now? 3.5?
3.5.
Nope. 3.5.
I think we're kind of keeping it about the same age this RoH is. I think it's about a year off. She is being protected, looked over by M, Jack's other character, who it's got one hand tied behind his back, missing another, so... Fun stuff there.
What exactly is the plan with Zelda?
The plan is kind of to keep her safe until, she turns of age and we can get Zane off the throne.
That's
so
gonna
it's
be a
not
while.
I don't think 18 years are going to pass.
It's not normally, no.
Not normally.
But that's pretty much what Zelda's up to. It kind of keeps the Vanguard together, at least, because we do have a purpose and a big plot, which is always nice to be part of.
But technically, she's like the biggest plot of all because, well, she's the freaking one of the main characters in the whole series.
Well,
She's what the game's named after.
Well, of
Yeah.
course. That's make me wonder a little bit if there's a little baby Link running around. Probably not.
Well, because this takes place between Wind Waker and Ocarina of Time, Link, doesn't exist until Wind Waker. I don't know, the hero's spirit is kind of floating around in limbo.
Good point.
Oh,
I'm
he's fun.
pretty sure.
Honestly, I can't remember what version of the timeline we're on, but I'm pretty sure it was the Wind Waker one.
Yeah, it is the Wind Waker one.
Yeah.
Before or after?
Before.
Yeah.
Is
I'm
Hyrule
pretty
flooded
sure
right now?
it's not flooded. Is there going to be some kind of event with that? That'd be cool.
God, no.
Flooding.
I don't think
Everyone dying.
No. That would be the end of this ROH.
Well, hey, yeah. If you guys are ever, thinking about ending it, then there you go.
We'll keep that in mind. Any other guild talk?
I don't think so. I think we're good there.
What other guilds are there to talk about?
There's none that are active right now. I mean,
Well, there could be the Briar Brigade. I think that should become a thing.
That's it. Isn't Briar like technically allied with the cause now?
Yeah, he is.
I think he is. They can still be
Briar's
allies.
been allied
if the
with
Fire
everybody.
exists.
That's true. Briar is everybody's friend.
He is.
What exactly, aside from the cause and the alliance, is Briar up to right now, Aspen?
Getting drunk, and I think what's his face wants to kidnap him for some reason.
Disbreco.
Nabisco.
The
There we go.
disco? The disco.
The
No,
Zora
Nabisco.
style.
I think Nabisco every time I see his name.
Nabisco.
Yes, Brisco. I'm just gonna call him Nabisco.
I'm just going to call him disco because that's a lot more entertaining. If you're listening to this, we mean no harm. Disco's a nice name.
We make the jokes, but it's all in good fun.
Disco is also dead. It makes sense to me.
Hey, that's funny. I like it.
Anything else going on with Briar? I mean, pretty major character here.
I think he's spending most of his time in taverns. I think recently his teacher/girlfriend, Maria, was kidnapped by pirates.
Yep. That was
Aspen should know more about this.
Yeah.
Well, it's her characters.
Yeah.
Who got retired. Yeah, Briar went off to save his bonny lass, Maria, whom I kidnapped. And it was fun. We rescued her with naked women. Briar didn't really do much. He was eating chowder with Maria in the pirate's boat. So they were having a grand old time.
Definitely going to have to catch up on this one. Chowder eating equals ratings in my book.
We'll go check it out then.
I will. Aside from Briar, anything else major going on in Termina, Hyrule?
Well, we briefly discussed Thera and the Zora Rebellion earlier, and that brings us to the point, like, there are a bunch of new royals popping up, or returning royals. There's now Thera, who's taking over for Kamazi, so Thera's going to be the new queen. We're in the middle of the sort of military coup right now. Then there's Kurdaris, who's returned, and closed off Goron City, which I also mentioned. And now I've brought in a sort of Rito ambassador princess named Ellie, who went the ambassador route because I don't want her sitting around in Dragon Roost forever and not getting used.
Yeah, that is a little bit of a problem when you make new leaders. Really can't move around that much unless it's like some sort of important business.
So far, the only plan there at the moment is to meet with Kurdaris and discuss politics.
It'll be a party.
Very
Party.
Political party.
I'd probably
There you
want to
go.
meet with Thera after the whole coup is over.
No exceptions.
No exceptions?
No, not allowed.
It's not allowed?
Not allowed. I'll just close down the whole Zora domain
That would be
part
weird.
there.
Because, like, Rito are supposed to be evolved Zoras, so they'd be like cousins or something.
But in this row, Rito
Yeah.
They're not
immigrated
related?
from somewhere.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just kind of showed up one day and said, "This is our mountain. Here's our dragon."
Everybody
Don't
was
touch
like, okay, we can accept that.
We were
claimed
using
this
that area
land.
anyway.
They came, they saw, they conquered.
There you go.
About the only race, major race, I guess, that doesn't have a political figure that should is the Deku, and they're not very
Popular.
active. There's not many of them. Very
Not
popular,
really.
not very active. There was one that disappeared after 20 days.
That particular Deku was a fluff character, and
Oh.
the person who played that Deku, who only lasted 20 days, has learned not to create fluff
person.
characters anymore.
That
That person should have learned after his Goron fluff character.
The Goron was not a fluff character. The Goron was a legitimate character and lasted months.
How would you know, eh? I thought we were talking about somebody else.
I didn't know we were going to be talking about Ruby Nipples on this podcast.
If you want to open it up, go ahead.
I already have.
Opened and shut. Okay.
I'm kind of sad Mr. Grok's wild ride didn't last long.
He was not a character that was very relatable.
But he played a part before you retired him, so he got a good
He
run.
was,
Yeah,
he was
did
Briar's
at least.
antagonist for a
Yeah.
little while.
As far as any other news, if you are a newbie and you are listening to this, go to Lily's shop in West District Lockdown. Newbies are welcome. Meet the
Plug.
Guffins. Yeah, hey, Gotta plug it somehow.
I was like, this is just pimping out now.
Hey.
It was a shameless plug.
Hey, I'm the one that runs this. I can have all the plugs I want here. But, if you want to talk to Lily or the crazy old man that rambles about things.
That guy.
Yeah.
That guy that sits in the corner.
We might have random quests for you. Or if you're just a member without any plots, come by.
Did you guys make that shop specifically for that purpose, just to give people things to do?
Yes.
Lily did.
They did.
I like that.
That's kind of like what the taverns are supposed to be, somewhere for people to go where they don't have a plot, but...
Really? I thought the taverns were just places for people to go to drink and do silly things.
Well, they are, but it's also when you don't have a plot and you kind of need an idea. Meet up.
Sort of a meeting place.
Yeah, we all met in a tavern. That old trope.
Very,
Like
Yeah.
we always do.
very RPG trope.
Yeah.
But it works.
It's a thing.
Any last details?
I don't think so. Moving on then?
All right.
Well, I can think of one thing. A rather important character, or at least has been in the past. Not so much anymore. The Arkan. If any of y'all have been paying attention, the Arkan is currently in Goron Village, conspiring. Ooh.
Oh, on a date with Yeveren.
Oh.
Yeveren.
I like that one better.
I'd like to say that.
An evil date.
An evil date.
He's conspiring on a date. Ooh.
Yes.
There you go.
Sacrificing small animals.
He would not sacrifice a small animal. Come on, you know that. It'd be like the whole village.
The whole village
The whole village.
Yep.
of small animals?
Sure.
Animal Crossing. Ever heard of it? The Arkan. Very, very important early on when he was Alaric. Became the Arkan, evil god. Then all of a sudden he decided, hey, let's go into the Shadow Temple. That was a terrible...
Best idea ever.
Said no one.
Mhm. And 8 months later he came back out and was kind of irrelevant.
Nobody
A
knew who
little
he
bit.
was.
Yes.
Kinda
Well, nobody who was a newbie knew who he was. Like, you're a great example, because you came around that time he was lost in the Shadow Temple.
Yeah. I had the general idea, like, he was a bad guy, only because of his avatar.
Mm.
Yeah.
It was all scary and menacing.
But you don't know anything about him, do you?
Not a damn thing.
Well, you should read more of his topics.
Perhaps.
There's an early orgy topic somewhere. Very interesting.
That's like his
Oh,
first
okay.
post, isn't it?
Well, his first post was a threesome.
So, Terminian mayors are usually like people who are into this kind of stuff, right? Then
Apparently,
orgies and all
orgies
that.
are the way.
There's something in the water in Termina. I think that's
Either that or it's like part of their way you get waived in. You must have orgies in your contract, otherwise no go.
I like the sound of that.
Mhm.
Huh.
What is he up to now?
Well, currently, Goron Village, date, conspiring. There's some evil stuff going on. He's trying to start something a little bit.
Some kind
I
of
think
war
he's
or
going to be like in the RP. He said he was going to like cut off the weapon supplies from like Castletown or something to that effect. Not Castletown, Clocktown. Like cut off the manufacturing because Goron City's like Goron Village is the manufacturing capital of Termina.
Oh yeah, right.
Like all the factories are there.
And how is he planning to do that?
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, he's not quite there yet. And honestly, I don't know if his plan is going to work too well. Because I think he's trying to stir up some sort of animosity between Hyrule and Termina. But with the king and the mayor being friends and hot tub time machines and all that, I don't know if it's going to work. But this is the Arkan. He can do whatever he pleases. Very, very fun character to read and good person to know behind the character as well.
Definitely. But now you notice, like, he's great. Like, he's a great read, but nobody's going to him though. Like, all our newbies won't go to the Arkan.
Not just the newbies.
He's too scary. Well, yeah, all members.
Maybe if
All
they're
members.
evil.
Every-
Like maybe if they're chaotic evil.
Yeah.
Unfortunately?
I don't know. Too many chaotic evil characters kind of does make things a little too chaotic and evilly. That really is a problem because the Arkan is supposed to be this big bad character. He's a god, but at the same time, you can't really RP, as we said. It's not something you can really RP with that well.
Unless you want to be lit on fire.
Yeah, well, Do you think a debuff of some sort, nerfing of the Archon, would make him more relatable to people?
I think it's
He
been
didn't
brought
have to
up
worry
before.
about being like obliterated just by saying the wrong thing to him. Like as from in character perspective, I mean.
I think we should
Yeah.
strip him of his godhood.
That would be very, very difficult in character.
Summon the giants.
Is his soul not like? Is Alaric's soul not in some kind of magical arrow somewhere?
I don't think it's completely destroyed because I don't think he would do something like that to destroy it. But who would know about it aside from the Archon?
Well, yeah, there was one other character. What the hell was his name? Wasn't it Ben's character?
Oh,
Kavoth,
Kavoth?
I think.
Yes! I'm pretty sure he had something to do with the arrow, or at least from what I understood it. And that's kind of hard touch base to get a hold of.
Unless somebody finds something out in character, the Archon will be around.
Being evil.
You know, it's kind of a double-edged sword, really.
I kind of feel like he's okay with that.
I'm pretty sure he'd prefer having more people around him, but he definitely does not want to give up those powers.
I mean, you can kind of get that he wants more people to come RP with him, because he did have a creation thing like starting up another guild, but it kind of
the
went
Scourge?
flat. Yeah, it's Scourge.
The
Scourge.
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 At the moment, it's Yeveren and Despreco, I think. Oh, and I've heard it's going to be a slow thing, but Mavic has expressed an interest. Still not 5 people for a guild.
Nope.
Yeah.
So, if you want to join an all-powerful god that can light you on fire with a thought, join that guild.
But you gotta be bad.
Gotta
To
be
the
bad.
bone.
Alright, we move from Archon talk to general Zelda discussion. Because we cannot have a podcast about something Zelda without actually talking about the series. Now, can we?
Heaven forbid.
Yeah. And of course, it helps a little bit that the Zelda series recently got a new remake in the Majora's Mask 3D.
And one of us has been playing it, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, I've been playing the heck out of it. I actually never finished the original Majora's Mask because I never had an N64, and yeah, anytime I did get to play it, I was kind of terrified because I was a little kid, and the 3-day cycle was like the most crazy thing ever. Like, I could not deal with it. I never actually played it in completion, so this is my first time playing the game.
Well,
That movie was freaking me out as a kid.
Well, it's so dark themed, like, really is. In comparison to all the Zelda games, it is very dark.
and a lot of subplots. Something Zelda didn't do that much. I don't know if they've done it a lot since.
I do enjoy the subplots. Like all the NPCs are incredibly important to the overall story.
Mm-hmm.
You can really get in there.
You really get in touch with them. You really get to know them, and you get to kind of feel for them a little bit, relate to them, right?
Yeah.
I suppose. I've never played it, so I wouldn't know.
I would highly recommend playing it.
It is a good game, but it's definitely not one of my favorites. I've always not been partial to Majora's Mask.
I always thought the mask thing was cool. Like, the Zora
Well, it
mask
is.
was always my favorite part of watching my brother play it when I was younger.
Yeah, the Zora, like, the masks are cool, but for me, like, the having to go back every freaking time, like, reverting time was a pain in the ass. I hated it.
You lose all your stuff.
Well, exactly.
And you have to, like, replay some bits.
Yeah, and it just gets tedious over a while, and it's just not one of my favorite games. Like, I played it to the end, I have everything done on it, but no, not my favorite.
Well, I myself always like the repetition of the game. I guess it's kind of partly because I'm a big fan of time travel. Back to the Future is one of my all-time favorite movies. Groundhog Day as well. Well, I guess we could talk about favorites. What's everyone's favorite?
Well, I guess I'll say that I don't know about my favorite, but my most nostalgic game, my very first Zelda game, and one that isn't mentioned as often, is Oracle of Ages. That's why my first 2 characters in RoH were Labrinen. Oracle of Ages it hit my nostalgia bone every time I play it. It was my very first Zelda. And I know all the bosses, and I can, like, get everywhere, like, in that game now. Like, I know it by heart, like, every location in Labrina. I played it only, like, 20 times.
Mana, your favorite?
It has to be Oot. Like, that was my favorite game. It was the first one I ever played. Oot. I'm not pronouncing it because I'll pronounce it wrong. I guarantee it. But no, it was the first one like I ever played. It had a lot of interest to me. Like, and the temples, you just got to learn a lot more about it, and the whole. I don't know. As a kid, it was just more interesting, and the graphics were so good back then.
They're still pretty decent now. Not
So
as
great.
good, but
Hey, you could poke your eye out on some of those characters.
Yeah, we love those boxy fingers.
like the Great Fairy and
That's exactly what I'm saying.
yeah,
The Great Fairy could make a career out of carving diamonds.
yeah.
Oh, definitely. No, that was my
Two
favorite.
At one time.
But I have like Link Between Worlds is also good. Like for a newer game, that is an awesome one because it links back to Link's Awakening or Link to the Past.
A Link to the
Past.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a good game. They link between each other and they're so diverse. Like for how long they've been between, it is a great game. It's just too short. So those are my favorite.
Aspen,
Um,
you're not much of a Zelda fan. You've played a couple.
I'm a fan. I'm just not a huge fan. Like I've only played Wind Waker all the way through, so that one's just like by default my favorite. But even after watching my brother play the games when I was younger, because he always found a way to play the games after they came out, and after watching playthroughs, and actually I played some of Skyward Sword a little bit. But even after all that, I still like Wind Waker the best because I like the cartoony aspect. I mean, a lot of people don't. Like, Imana over there doesn't like it, I understand.
Don't like it.
But I really like it because it's so lighthearted and fun, and it still has its epic moments, but you're playing as a little cartoon character with these huge eyeballs, and it's fun to me. Like, the sailing got tedious, but it was still fun. I liked it.
It's always a hard one to choose a favorite for me. I'm not much of a person that picks favorites, except for movies. I almost always say it's one of three. It's either the original, which I've beaten 30 times. I can play it, never quite the same each one, because it's so non-linear. Something the Zelda series needs to bring back. I think I mentioned that in Dear Chronic. Majora's Mask, believe it or not, is another favorite, which kind of makes sense. Very good game. Not that long, comparatively speaking, but very, very in-depth. And the third one, first handheld one, Link's Awakening. It's kind of reminds me a little bit of Majora's Mask in that it doesn't take place in Hyrule, and it does build up on characters a little bit more than some of the Zelda games. It's very enjoyable, but at the same time, it is missing something, Link's Awakening. I don't know if it's because it's 20 years old on a system that was not as strong as NES or what. How does everyone feel about Link's Awakening?
I did like that since it's all a dream, they threw in a bunch of Mario enemies, and I think some Kirby enemies as well, just for lulz.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the funniest part is seeing all the like cameos of like Bow Wow being the Chain Chomp. Like I never played that. I watched playthroughs of it and my brothers played it, but it's just funny how it takes part in the dream. It's just kind of sporadic, I guess. I like it.
It's a fun play. Not perfect, but not, everyone can say that about any Zelda game, really. Aspen, do you know much about Link's Awakening?
I think my brother had that game. I never played it, so I don't know much about it.
I would recommend it.
Was that a Game Boy game or a Game Boy Color game?
There's actually both versions. There was original Game Boy made in '93, and a Link's Awakening DX, which has support for color, I believe, in '98. Now that we've talked about favorites, what about least favorites?
Skyward Sword.
I knew that would come up.
Maybe
Come
the
on.
control scheme for Skyward Sword wasn't amazing, but I really enjoyed the plot a lot. Like, I don't know, I enjoyed Skyward Sword quite a bit.
See,
You like
I probably
Maybe-
would have enjoyed it. I would have enjoyed it more if I didn't have to use the stupid Wii controls. Because honestly, the last thing I want to do is wave my arms around playing a game when I want to just sit and just enjoy it. Like, I know it has a good story to it, but I couldn't get into it because of the Wii controls. Because you are literally standing in your living room, flailing your arms around. That is not fun.
I found, like, I could control it just at the wrist. Like, I wasn't standing or anything.
That's so lazy. I always thought the arm flailing thing made any Wii game more fun because, you know, you look like an idiot, with your friends, and everyone's having fun.
Yeah, but Skyward Sword is not really a game you play with your friends, right?
Well, I kind of played it with my sister, so we look like idiots together. It was
Yeah,
fun.
it's not one of my favorites. It had potential, but it's sorely disappointed.
I was going to say, I don't have a Wii, so I've never played it, but I will take y'all's word for it.
Maybe if they remake it on a, different...
Which is fine, I'll play it then. If they don't make me use the Wii controls, fine, I will play it again and I will change my review. But right now, it is a shitty game.
Nay, what about you?
I would say, like, recently, Mana probably won't like this, but I did not enjoy A Link Between Worlds quite that much. I found the story was kind of lackluster. Like, the gameplay was fun, but, like, after playing the other DS Zelda games, Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks, where there was a lot of personality to the characters, I really enjoyed Linebeck in Phantom Hourglass. He was hilarious. The characters had a lot more personality. I enjoyed the story more. It was linear, but I kind of prefer a linear story to a non-linear game, I guess. That's just my opinion. So, yeah, I preferred the, like, older DS Zeldas to A Link Between Worlds.
It's kind of a flip because, from what I've heard, not many people like Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks as much.
No, I didn't like those ones at all. Like, they were not good, in my opinion.
As I've said, I haven't played a Zelda game since Twilight Princess. I really can't have an opinion on games I haven't played. Aspen, I'm pretty sure you're in the same corner.
Pretty much.
As for me, only Zelda game that I would probably say I just didn't like was probably the Minish Cap.
That was a rather forgettable game. Like, I know I've played it. I don't remember anything except there was a talking hat and tiny people.
The only thing I remember about the Minish Cap is, the talking hat, tiny people, and the keystones, or whatever it was.
Yeah, something like that. See, that's bad. It's forgettable. But I'm kind of the same way with Four Swords. I hated that one, too. Just because I didn't like controlling four people.
Four Swords or Four Swords Adventure?
Either or. I don't know.
Four Swords Adventure, Minish Cap, that kind of came in between Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. Not very memorable Zelda games. Minish Cap, to me, was just one of those games, it came after the Oracle games, which, as Nay said, very good games. Aegis,
Mm-hmm.
I prefer Aegis more than Seasons, but they're both great.
Aegis has, I think, the more in-depth story.
It does. Seasons was more action-oriented. I preferred story. And the Minish Cap, it just kind of failed to deliver on those two games. Anyone going to defend the Minish Cap?
Nope.
I have no idea how that game, yeah.
I don't know. They felt like they were just reaching in the bucket and grabbed whatever they could. It was not as good as it could have been.
I like the kind of idea that that's why pots and everything respawn when Link leaves a room, because tiny people are putting them back together.
Yeah, I mean,
Is that it?
That,
yeah.
I that's it. That's where that comes
I don't
from.
remember that.
But we are gamers, and the Zelda series has been around for a long time. Has any of our opinions changed on a game? Either positive or negative?
Okay, I will defend Wind Waker. Now that I've seen, my brother play through, the one that's been re-released for the Wii U, it is a good game. It has a great storyline. I still hate the art. Still pisses me off.
Art is art, Mana. Come on.
Don't care!
What do you
Can't
know
handle
about
it.
art, Mana?
Pretty, it's colorful.
Yeah, nothing.
I liked how the Wind Waker painted Ganondorf, as sort of more empathetic. He was wanting to kind of make the Gerudo tribe have a better place in society.
See, that makes sense. That was good.
Mhm.
He's not so much of a douchebag.
Still a bad guy, but
Yeah.
Still,
that's
but
less of a douche.
I will say Link got rid of Ganondorf the best way possible in that game. Sword through the head. I like that.
Yeah.
That's true.
Ganondorf gets stabbed through, the head and the chest a lot.
Mhm.
Always comes back.
And they always end up playing tennis at some point.
Yeah.
Well, that's a tradition now.
Yeah, it is. Not in the first one, though. As far as mine or my opinion changed, I'd probably say the second game, the old Adventure of Link. Not a very popular one for Zelda fans because it was different. It wasn't the first one. Side-scrolling instead of overhead. There were a limited number of lives. The only Zelda game, as far as I know, that did that. Didn't quite work out. But if you actually play it now, great game. It was alright back in the day. You know, take yourself out of the mindset that it was in. If you play it again, it's very challenging, but very fun. Has anyone else played it, or am I the only one here?
Actually,
Oh, I
I
played
think
it.
that's one of the few I haven't played.
Oh, I played that one. I actually really liked that one, even from, like, maybe it's because I didn't know the story back then, but I thought it was a great game. It was challenging. It wasn't as easy as some of them can be.
You know, that's kind of a common complaint now about Zelda games. They've gotten a lot easier. Zelda 2 and Zelda 1, if you don't know what you're doing in Zelda 1, it's almost impossible to beat.
Pretty much.
Yeah, Zelda 2 is a little bit better, but it's still very challenging.
Could always be worse. It could be Wand of Gamelon.
We do not speak of that unholy triforce of games. My boy.
Oh,
I think the last thing on today's podcast is the dramatic post readings.
Yay!
she's excited.
We got 3 posts we're going to be doing. I will be going first. The post I am going to read is a character that was on this RoH several years ago. This character kind of died, but there is some rumblings that he might be coming back. Prince Soren. Basically, if you don't know, Prince Soren was an illegitimate child of the royal family. At one point, he and Skylar were kind of becoming a thing until someone lost their head in a cave somewhere. Very, very good interaction between the two. Highly recommend reading it. And this actually comes from before the head chopping off, when they were starting to court a bit. I will be reading this post. The topic is called A Revelation. Once the music stopped and their dance ended, Soren took Skylar by the hand and led her away from the dance platforms. They didn't have to go far, just enough that no one would be able to eavesdrop on them. Soren's mind raced back and forth the entire walk between thoughts of Skylar, accepting who he was and thoughts of her storming off in an outrage. On one hand, it was kind of a big deal. He was royalty, a prince, legitimate of course, but sometimes circumstances made the illegitimate rather legitimate. Were it not for the Princess Zelda, he would have a real claim to the throne. As it was now, he still had a reasonable shot of superseding the princess. That was not his ambition, though. He was becoming regent, because Hyrule needed someone, not because he wanted to rule. What if he liked ruling? What if he was a good ruler and didn't want to abdicate the throne to Zelda when she reached an appropriate age? He crossed that bridge when he came to it. It was highly unlikely anyway. Even if he did take to ruling the country, there was no guarantee he'd live long enough to willingly give it up. And then, on the other hand, the illegitimacy of his royal claim shone through clear as crystal. He hadn't been raised as a royal. He didn't even particularly like being considered a noble, despite it having its occasional advantages. A vast pool of resources was always nice. It had made it much easier to travel and help people around the country. Were they necessary? No, but there was no point in wasting them. The way he saw it, the rubies were often better spent on the poor and helpless than on anything fancy he might have wanted. Not that he never spent rubies on himself. He couldn't claim that. But he hadn't been overly frivolous like some other nobles he could name. Skylar was not one of those nobles, and he owed it to her to tell her the truth before things got too far. Maybe she would reject him for who he was, and that would be the end of it. Or maybe he would be upset that he hadn't told her sooner. Either were possible. Hopefully she would see past that. He wanted to get to know her better, to spend more time with her. But to do that, she had to accept who he was and the position he would soon be taking. One at a time, though. Skylar. He stopped and looked into her eyes, fearful of what might happen. There was no one around, and there were very few, if any, places for anyone to hide. His words would be for her and her alone. I never gave you my full name on account of my family's heritage, but I have enjoyed the past 2 days, and I was hoping we could share more together in the future. For that to happen, though, you must know who I really am. He paused, considering his words in his mind. Here it came. How would she react? My full name is Arvender Soren Hyrule.
Yay! Good job. It was very well written.
He is an amazing writer.
I actually didn't know much about the character before now, and he seems like an interesting character. And, yeah, interested in his potential return.
This is the guy that might be coming back, right?
Might be coming back, yes.
He's always been a good character to read. Like, he's probably really one of the people I would always stalk to read their posts because the writing was very good.
Creepy mana stalker.
Hey!
As someone who has known him for 11 years, he has always been a very good writer, and he has gotten better with time.
It was a good post. Well written. I liked it.
Far better than me, I can say that much. Alright, the next one to read is Nay.
Yeah, I'm reading a post by Obsidian Dragon for Samuel Blackthorne, better known as Briar. And yeah, it's for context, it is Briar is meeting with the High King Zain Abinater, or Usurper King Zain Abinater, depending on your point of view. Just meeting with him at the Smithington Inn in Clocktown. They decide to go to the hot springs. It's just Briar being his usual flirty self. Yeah, I'll start reading. As the mysterious king of Hyrule moved about in the warm spring waters, silvery blue eyes studied his every feature curiously. He desperately wanted to ask what had happened, and it was so hard not to, but it was such a struggle not to be rude, and he feared that any wording of a question like that was going to come off as rude no matter what. As battle-scarred as he was, this one still held a great deal of charm, both in personality and in looks. Briar had no doubt in his mind about the loyalty of those who came with him to this town. If one couldn't follow this king, then who could they follow? He listened curiously, still gazing at the Hylian across the pool, as he offered more words and soon decided they ought to learn more about each other first. It was a wonderful idea and all that, but Briar hardly knew where to begin. Why, no, I haven't been in politics long. In fact, I think you'd find me to be a wanted criminal in your country. Oh yes, they could go over so well, and that most certainly wouldn't gain him an enemy here or a place in an icy cold prison. This required a matter of truth and the intent of purposefully leaving out particular details. He began. Now you see, I haven't been in this area very long. In fact, I expected to be offered a good deal of ridicule for coming out of the blue and asking the public to leave their precious town in my charge. I'm sure it was my heart that won them over in the end. I wished to help the people while a particular opponent of mine was in it to fill his fat pockets with rupees. He smirked, batting his pretty little eyelashes. I was born in West Falls originally, but spent much of my time moving about from Clocktown here and even to Hyrule. You may ask me any question about that if you like, he offered. But may I ask you a few first? I'm afraid I don't know many details, and perhaps you can enlighten me on some. He nestled himself into the water deeper and tilted his head backward, wetting his hair and letting it swish about. Everything about baths was just so relaxing and magical. Looking back to the king, he smiled and began his questions. What was it that happened exactly that made you step in? Might I also ask how you accomplished it? Surely it couldn't have been as simple as approaching the throne and asking the regent to kindly step down. He still wanted to ask the obvious, but couldn't. Instead, he lifted his arms, lacing his fingers behind his head and awaiting answers to the much better questions. I imagine your looks held something of a pull over it. Goddesses, damn it. Oh, please excuse me, he apologized, holding his hand to his mouth to keep himself quiet, lest he say something else stupid.
Not bad. Not bad at all. Briar is a very, very entertaining character. I'll say that much. I like that post. Alright, and we got one more by Aspen. Would you please tell us who you're reading and what the context is?
Of course. So I'm reading an old character of Libby's, who is named Toma. It's a little more on the comedic side as compared to Nay and Caden's post. And it's a little shorter, I think, than either of theirs too, so it'll be quick, but I'll make it entertaining. Damn it! Toma cursed at herself mentally. She had gotten drunk before. Why couldn't she pull herself together? Of course, she knew why. because she was thinking of Briar. Why him? Because of that drinking game, but now that he called it off, she realized how much of an idiot she was acting like. Pull it together, Toma. Stop acting stupid. She slapped herself in the face, which for some reason always worked like magic, at least for clearing her vision, and got up. Her head still swam dizzily, but after a few moments of careful balancing, she was quite accustomed to it. Yes, she was still drunk, but you couldn't really tell anymore. Toma felt the need to throw up again, and she pushed herself out of the crowd before she spurted and bile all over the place. Whoops. She wiped her face off and scrambled back up. "I'm fine now," she proclaimed, trying to hide the hoarseness of her voice. That was embarrassing. Letting people see the drunk that she was. And it was all Briar's fault. Oh, she would get revenge. And hopefully soon.
I'm so glad I picked that one for you.
Yeah, that was a very good post. Would anyone like to state what happened a little bit after that post? If my memory serves me right. Isn't that where she started playing with the...
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Uh-huh. Do tell. I want to know. I read that post.
No.
Tell me.
No, yucky.
Ah,
Grody.
come on.
We can
It
tell.
was so gross.
Let's just say that
It's different words.
that Toma had a very weird fascination with the bile she threw up.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And on that note, I believe that is the end of the podcast. I would like to thank Mana, Nay, and Aspen for joining me. Hopefully they will be on more times than this.
Mhm.
And if you would like to be involved in the RoH podcast, please leave a message, either PM me or leave a message in the topic. If you want to have your post read, please. There's an Please, there is an announcement. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to do this.
Don't be shy.
If you want us to talk about what's going on in your RP, please send us information for that as well. We love to discuss things going on, and it doesn't always have to be the major characters. And on that note, I would say this is Caden Cottenius, and we are signing out.
Bye.
Bye-bye.